Green Scale Modelers. Welcome to another quick and dirty build and review. Today's episode is the Tamiya 1/48 scale F4F4 Wildcat. This plane was the hero of the early Pacific War, flown by James Thatch, Butch O'Hare. This was the ship that helped invent the Thatch Weave, a combat tactic still used today. It also flew with the RAF as the Martlet. And Tamiya, I've heard a lot about them. This is the first one I've ever bought, owned, or built. I'm looking forward to learning about Tamiya. I hear good things. Let's see what this stuff is all about. Let's get into it. I am counting 47 gray molded parts and 6 clear parts for a total of 53. And everything is sealed, and I bought it brand new at Hobbytown, so I don't anticipate any missing parts. All right, before shooting primer on your parts and getting started with the painting, I picked this up somewhere along the way, but you got to wash the mold release agent off of there, and I just use hot water and a couple drops of Dawn dishwashing detergent. And Dawn just happens to be the brand that I use, so I'm not sure that it matters, but that just happens to be what I have next to the sink. So that's what I'm using. But you just wash them through there a little bit. You don't have to try too hard. Give them a quick rinse, and then let them air dry before you start using your primer of choice. Before I even got started on this, I watched 2 very skilled modelers putting together this same kit, and I just happen to have a very close approximation of the green khaki that you do the cockpit with, and I would rather use this up so that I can switch over to an enamel of the same shade. And I'm going to do this, and if I want to do any fancy weathering after that, I did learn some good things from those guys that I will try out. But the green that I've got is a very good approximation, and it's so close that I'm just going to be happy with it and roll with it. With the glass parts, there are a couple of little black washers in there, so I'm not even going to open this bag up until I need those black washers, because if I open this up now, I'm going to find a way to lose those things. All right, some of the highly talented modelers are doing insignia white for the wheel well. I'm doing flat enamel white just because I got a new bottle of testers, and I'm using my silver paint pen to hit those hydraulics, and I just dabbed black over the chains, and I think those are the chains to crank the landing gear. And I used the paint pen to do silver pulleys. So that's probably more detail than I usually do for most of my builds. On other kits, I would be a little bit uncomfortable with parts that are this fine, but the fit, as long as I follow the directions on this thing is going together really smooth. And now, when I built my Hasegawa model, there were cockpit issues like this, but this thing fits together like I don't even need to glue it. How cool is that? So far, pretty fun. The horizontal stabilizer fits in perfectly, and it even goes in perfectly straight at 90 degrees. And the rudder is an easy press fit. So I'm not going to use a lot of glue, and I don't even need to set weights on it or set it up on a stand to get it to dry right. So these Tamiya models could be addictive, fun to build. With many aircraft, you assemble the cockpit and then you put the halves together, but this one has you put the halves of the fuselage together first, and then the cockpit's going to pop in through the bottom. And in celebration of that, I am going to follow the directions. And I've got the horizontal stabilizer is holding the body together so tight. I'm just going to cement this and press them together, and Hope that they fit together okay. I've already brushed cement on my paint job, so I may have fucked that up already, but we'll find out. You guys have built a bunch of models. You've run into surprises along the way. What I ran into today was I got the intermediate blue. I wanted to do the early war version where it's got the stripes on the rudder. Like I wanted to do Butch O'Hare's Wildcat. But what happened was I still have to finish the canopy, and I still got to paint the additional parts that go on the upper part of the fuselage, and my intermediate blue ran out. So it does allow, there is a later war version that it's got intermediate blue in the middle and dark navy on the top. And so I can go to plan B, which is what I'm going to do, which is what I have to do right now, because I don't feel like ordering another can and then waiting for intermediate blue to show up. I just want to finish the kit. So I had to do a zigzag on my plan, so it's now time for plan B. But the finish looks really good. And boy, the Tamiya parts really look well detailed. I mean, everybody knows that, but this is my first Tamiya kit. So anyway, onward and upward. Well, going to plan B couldn't be any simpler, because all I got to do is, well, that's AK camouflage putty once again. You're going to get real familiar with that if you see my videos. Then I just got to shoot the tops of the horizontal stabilizer. The rudder remains intermediate blue, and I just got to reshoot the tops of the wings. And plan B is executed. I want to give a big thank you to the YouTuber Resurrection Modeler. He built a Tamiya Wildcat, and he has shown me the silver weathering technique. And it so happens that I have the same type of brush that he's using. You drag it through some silver paint, you dry it off with a cloth of your choosing, and you start working those parts. So this is a new thing for me, and I see if I can learn something about weathering. The silvering technique really makes this detail pop. So once again, thank you, Resurrection Modeler, for this is a whole new, it's like a whole new day here. So I'm gonna have fun doing this from now on. You might be able to see that, you might not, but you can see all the subtle wiring and the well, just all the detail there. This is a fun thing to have learned. There are wires on the front side to let you know, that lets you index the front from the back side, and there's a notch so that you know that you're getting it in the right spot. So it's just nice to have that positive feedback built into the model like this does. The black poly hub is to hold on the propeller, and you know, when it only costs like half a penny to do so, I think it's classy when you throw in a spare, because these things can go flying off any which way, as you well know. And, you know, for like a fraction of a penny, they're saving themselves about a gazillion phone calls to their customer service line asking for spares. Why not just give the modeler a spare? I think. This landing gear assembly looks like a lot of things could really go wrong, but it fit together with little to no difficulty. And the last part, which is B22, I just dry fit it and it popped right in. So instead of gluing the piece and then putting it back on, I just dabbed glue in all the contact points and got it done that way. And this landing gear assembly, probably the most complicated assembly of the whole thing, not bad at all. So far, this is really coming together. Welcome back to Canopy Corner. The Wildcat canopy is pretty darn straightforward. It's very P40-ish, if I may compare it to another American warbird. And my can of dark navy Tamiya paint, I'm going to need it to cover the two antennae for the fuselage and this canopy. And if this can runs out just like the other one did in the intermediate blue, this just really isn't my day. And now for the conclusion of Canopy Corner. Looking fairly good, but in the interest of full disclosure, on the upper part of the bird cage there, yeah, right there, a little bit of paint leak. And I was using my rattle can, and it did get me through all the parts. But just like the intermediate blue can, right before it gave up the ghost, it would like hiss without shooting paint, and then it would shoot paint. And then I thought, okay, that's it. That's the last of it. I'm not going to cover the parts, but it did work out okay. But I think the best way to express this is in the form of a song. You are so beautiful to me. Can't you see? You're everything I hope for. You're everything I need. The tail hook has an adequately machined hole for it, and it worked on the first try, and I'm very impressed with the way the parts fit together on this model. This is Tamiya Insignia White on the underside of the plane, and I'm just waiting for some parts to dry, and that's a good time for line panel detail. And less is more with this stuff. You just got to dab it, and then you watch it work through the lines. I just hit it with a dab right there, and it just works all the way down through the physics of capillary action. And then, of course, my dab point makes a mess, so I gotta take a Q-tip and wipe that off. But yeah, that's when you watch the good modelers' websites, this is how their models all look. So I'm slowly learning along the way. Oh, look at that. Look at that fine, beautiful detail. This is fun. Check out this capillary action. You just dab it right there, and you just watch it work its way all the way around. Oh man, that's living right there. Watching the way it just, ooh, oh, and suddenly it is weathered and detailed at the same time. How much fun is that? Oh my gosh. Okay, I dabbed panel line detail everywhere I could, and yeah, you wipe off the excess. I'm using a Q-tip, and I think you're supposed to have the Q-tip wet with thinner, but I didn't even do that. I just rubbed it out because it gives kind of it gives weather streaks this way. And I mean, it does look better. It's got a realistic look to it, but I just had a bunch of fun having the line detail work through all those lines in the plastic. This thing, I mean, just doing a sub-assembly here was a lot of fun. And it looks damn good. This looks like some of the better models I've seen on the really talented YouTube channels. I'm just a schmo, and this is gonna up my realism level on all my builds. I am at the end of assembly step 4, and here is the underside of the wing. These parts were cemented on that little one, the exhaust shooters or ports, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, that is mispainted. I need to touch that up at this point. But yeah, I went berserk with the line detail, as you can show. Everything is seriously weathered, and I totally went to town with that, and it looks like more of the models that I see on YouTube from more talented builders. And the top of the wing fit on well, and I held up my end of the deal and got the parts mated up evenly, and the fit is good. On this port wing here, I just had it was a little bit loose, so I used some thin cement, and I'm clamping that on, and I'm ready to move on to step 5, which is mating the fuselage with the body of the wing. And the $1 million question is, how will these surfaces match up? Because anytime there's an issue, that's where it's going to be. Like, if there's a visible gap, that will be the question. Landing gear is ready to go in, and you can see those big, clear, easy to build tabs that are in there that'll make sure that the landing gear goes in the right spot. Hopefully. Theoretically. There's only one way to find out. These internal parts could have been a problem, but they fit together so nicely that they were not. And I just wanted to take one last look at that beautiful silvering on the engine. And thanks again to Resurrection Modeler for that tip on dry brush silvering. Okay, the Wildcat landing gear, that white bullet piece fits into the body. Those tabs fit into the milled holes perfectly, as advertised. That's looking pretty good. And now where the black pieces meet together, that's cemented into the internal works, and the white tab that is, the white fairing section that you see there between the two landing gear doors, that is cemented on at 2 places with good fitting tabs. So I think if I can leave this alone long enough and just let it dry, that these landing gear are going to be fine. So boy, this is a really nice model. There are no less than 4 anchoring points. I'm showing the uninstalled, and then there are 4 places where those made up so that the wing tanks will stay straight and go in there properly. So bravo. Well, thankfully, late into the build, I avoided any serious screw-ups, but I did lose part number A6, which is the connector shaft to the propeller. And guess what? A round toothpick is going to replace it pretty well. So I'm going to chop it off with a hobby knife and see if I can get away with it. But yeah, don't do what I did. Hang on to A6. And something I was doing kind of habitually is, like, anytime I thought I had a sprue that I had all the parts off of it, I would cut it off with my needle nose pliers and throw it away. And I will bet you anything that I threw away part number A6. I just put the canopy on, and this baby is ready for decals at this point in time. It's looking pretty good. There was a misguided application of wrong color paint, but I just got to roll with it. So this is the late war paint job Wildcat. I do have an airbrush in the next room, but I haven't gotten out to practice with it yet. So I'm going to leave this build where it is. And it's just a clean, straight ahead build. And the underside of the fuselage, I didn't get the white back here on the aft part to match up with the wing. So that's a clear, that's a clear mismatch. You can see that in the underwing area. But the rest of this has just been a joyous, good fitting build. And I mean, those fuel tanks, it only took one try. The landing gear only took one try. I want to build more Tamiya kits. This thing was a joy to build. So that's what I got to say. The Tamiya 48 scale Hellcat is a joy to build because of how the parts fit together, the clarity of the instructions, and the ease of use of the decals. And even the canopy, it's a peach. So, and I only screwed up once and had to fabricate a part using a round toothpick so that the propeller would go on. So this baby's a winner. I had a lot of fun putting it together, and I will be building more Tamiya kits in the future. This is my first experience here. So these are really great if you haven't tried them, but most of you already know about this. I'm late to the party, all right? This has been another quick and dirty model build and review. Thanks for watching.